everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I'm going to be doing a eyes only kind of tutorial and sort of a review on the PLouise Love Tapes eyeshadow palette. This is the latest palette that has come out by PLouise and I picked it up a little over a week, just under a week ago now, and today's the first day that I've actually had a chance to sit down and play with it. So I did the look that I am wearing now and I'm very happy with how it came out with. At the end of the video I kind of talk about the pros and the cons of the palette, so if you are interested in what I think of it and how I got this look, then please keep watching. So as I already mentioned in my intro, I am going to be using the new PLouise Love Tapes eyeshadow palette. I got this a few days ago, I think at the beginning of the week. This palette is so big and it's so heavy. I just wanted to do just like an eyes only tutorial today, and then I will talk about like my thoughts on the palette at the end of the video. I don't know exactly what kind of look I'm going to be going for, but I feel like I want to do something quite like PLouise inspired maybe. I'll probably just have a play and just see how it goes. There are some very bright colours in here. There's quite a lot of reds, there's a lot of purples, and then you've got some pinks. So yeah, I think I'm just going to kind of go with it and see what exactly I come up with. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my Sigma E45 tapered blending brush. I'm going to start off with the colour Passion, which is this one here. It's sort of like a purpley pinky deep-ish kind of colour. So I've swatched a couple of shades from this palette and they do look very pigmented. There is a little bit of kick up in the pan, and I think what I'm going to do is try and do like a bit of a winged out type look. I'm not really the best at these. I have already done my eyebrows and I primed my lids with some of the PLouise base because that's what I always use. So I've just got a little bit of shadow on my brush and I'm just going to start to build my shape up. I wanted to go for quite a pinky kind of look today, so I don't want to start off too dark in my crease because I can always build up the colour. So I just want to kind of get my shape mapped out first. So once I've kind of got the shape mapped out, I'm not too worried about it being precise or too pigmented right now. I'm going to go in on my other eye, because I think what I actually might do is put on a darker colour kind of on top of this. But I like to, sometimes if I'm not 100% sure like how the colours are going to go on my eye, I'm just doing the same thing on my other eye. I like to just use a sort of medium toned colour that I will be using on my eyes anyway, just to get my shape mapped out, and then I can go ahead and deepen it up once I can see. But this colour, the colour is just applying so nicely, it's applying so smoothly, and yeah, I'm quite impressed with this colours. My eyes are probably going to be stained like absolute mad. So I kind of just like to make sure that I've got a very even shape matched out on both eyes. So I'm going to take a smaller, more kind of precise brush. This is the Morphe M456. It's just like a MAC 217, but just a little bit smaller. I want a kind of deeper colour, so because I want to stick with the kind of pinky texture, I'm gonna, the pinky kind of colour, I'm gonna go in with this colour here, Cherish, which is a very kind of reddish brown. So it's this one just here. Basically just going to follow this shape and just kind of start to deepen it up. I always get scared with new palettes to really play with the darker colours first, because you just never know how good they are or how well they're gonna like blend out. So I'm just gonna deepen up the first colour I use with this. So that is the difference it makes. It's just deepened it up quite a lot, but still kept the kind of similar tone. I feel like if I would have gone straight in with Cherish, it would have been a bit too brown for what I'm going for. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the same thing on my other eye. Okay, so once I've got that laid out, I'm going to take the first brush I used to apply the colour Passion, and I'm just going to very softly just blend the very edge of this shadow, so that when I go in with my next colour, I'm not having to worry about blending this colour, but more so getting that transition in. So just very gently, just soften it up. Just make sure it's very smooth, because then I just find it so much easier to blend shadows with it, and also making sure that I'm not losing my shape either. So just like that, so you can see the difference that that's made. This looks very harsh. It's kind of not as smooth as this side, so I'm gonna just again just start to smooth all of this out. So the next thing we're going to do is grab my Luxie 237 brush, and I'm going to go in with the colour, this palette is so hard to hold, the colour Play, which is this kind of pinky colour here. It's a bit lighter and a bit more kind of pink than Passion is. So I'm not going to go in with too much product. If I need to, I might mix in the Hot Pink, which is the Devoted colour, but I'm just going to very gently start to blend and kind of blow out these first colours that we worked with. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with the colour Smitten, but I am going to mix it with a little bit of Urge, because the colour Smitten is quite dark, but I feel like the colour Urge is a bit light. So I'm probably going to take more of Urge than Smitten, but I want that kind of peachy hue to the colour Urge. So just a little bit on my brush, and I'm just going to buff all of this out. You might even need to just go in with a bit of Urge first and then a bit of Smitten, just to kind of bring some colour back, because Urge is quite pastel-y. It will just kind of erase the colours. So right now I feel like I've got my base kind of colours set, I've got my basic shape set out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the steps. I'm going to go straight in with Cherish though, and not use Passion unless I feel like I need to. But what I tend to do at this stage is, rather than trying to pack the colours on, I really start blending them, and that way I can really control, because now I've got a nice base to kind of blend the colours with. It tends to be a lot easier for me to kind of see how the look is going to come out. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with where I'm at this point. Now obviously I haven't added the depth to the outer corner, and I don't tend to do that until I start doing my inner corner. I really wanted to do like quite a fun, colourful kind of look. So I've actually got my pink Basic Brights PLouise, the popping pink, and I've also got my white as well, because I wanted to mix them together to make a sort of lighter pink. I love my Zoeva brush for cutting my crease, just because I feel like it does the perfect shape. I like to kind of map out my shape first, so I try and take off most of the product on my little palette before kind of going in and really doing my shape. So I'm just going to kind of make sure my eyes open to bring a little bit of this darkness up. Now you could just put some of the base kind of along your lash line and then look up. I know a lot of people do that, but I like to just kind of start by stamping it on, opening my eye and seeing how that is looking. So now that I've got my, what I would consider like my basic shape down, I'm now going to try and repeat the same thing on my other eye. So I've got my cut creases on. What I'm going to now do is take my, this is my Morphe M456 brush that I used to apply like the Cherish colour, so the darker colour. And all I'm going to do is, with no additional product on the brush, I'm just going to start just to sweep into the base. So I'm not bringing the base out, I'm more so sweeping the shadows in. Just like that, just to kind of fill the gap and so it doesn't look so harsh. We obviously are going to add some colours on so it won't look so harsh. And then I'm just going to repeat the same thing on my other eye. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the inner corner and then kind of work my way around. So I'm going to start off with this teeny tiny peaches and cream brush. This is the PC41. I got a load of peaches and creams brushes quite recently actually, and I'm really quite impressed with them. They have been really, really good. I'm going to take just like a flat kind of brush like this, just to pat down on my base, make sure it is set and it's not too kind of tacky. You can see how much of the shine that has kind of taken away just by tapping on it, because I don't want it to look too shiny. And then I'm going to go in with the colour Urge, which is this kind of pastel-y pink, and I'm going to pop this right onto the inner corner. You probably won't even really be able to see it that much, but it's going to set the base, because these are the older bases. They're not like the paints that don't need to be set, but I just want quite a light inner corner. So I'm taking that, probably say about a third of the way up onto the base, and then I'm going to, once again, you can see how much that is creased on my eye, and just by patting it in a little bit, just gives you a nice kind of canvas to work on. Just repeat the same thing on this eye, just like that. And then I'm going to take my PC40 brush. Again, this is from Peaches and Cream. I think this is actually like a cut crease kind of brush, but it's so small I get so scared to use it. I'm going to go in with the colour Play, which is next to Urge, this one here, which is the colour that, another colour that I've used on my eye. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to pop it more in the kind of centre of my eye. I feel like it looks quite red on this base. So I'm not putting on like a huge amount of pigment. I just want that kind of hue of the more like red toned pink. This brush is actually probably the perfect brush to apply it with. And just kind of bring it. Use the brush you use to apply Urge and just pick up more of that Urge and just sort of drag it into the top. So it's this real kind of subtle, almost ombre effect that we have got going on, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want anything that was so harsh or anything like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is actually take more of Cherish, which is the kind of darkest colour that we've been working with. And now that everything is all set and I've got a nice blend going on, I'm just going to use this just to kind of buff everything in together, because I don't want this to look really, really harsh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some winged liner, because I want to wear lashes that go really well with a winged liner. And then when I come back, we're going to do a kind of glitter line around the crease. So I'll do the winged liner and then I'll be right back to do the glitter liner. So I've just done some winged liner and I was just kind of playing around with the Peaches and Cream pigment drops. This is another new product that I got a little while ago, and I've just done this kind of, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, I'm hoping that you'll, this line with the pigment in the colour Gatsby. I just wanted a pop of kind of sparkle there. To be honest, I think I've done it a little bit too high, but there you go. So I'm going to try my best to match it up on this eye as well. I've tried to use other like mixing mediums before, like Duraline, to get to be able to create lines like this with my pigments, and this is the first time that I've been able to do it. So I've got so many peaches and cream pigments, and now I'm really looking forward to being able to like play around more with doing them. And this is the Peaches and Cream PC44 brush, which is actually a really good liner brush. I'm actually going to thicken this up, I think. Just, if you make a mistake with your cut crease, this is a really good way to kind of fix it. So now I feel like I have to also thicken it up a bit on this side. So I've just done my base makeup, and I've done everything except for my highlighter, because there are actually 2 highlighters in the palette. So I'm going to start working on my under eye, and the first thing I'm actually going to do is pop some of the PLouise, the Popping Pink Basic Brights, into my waterline. I'm not going to use, because I like my waterline to be a little bit darker, so I'm not going to use the same colour that I used that I've already mixed, because it's a bit too light. Just going to take a little bit on an angled brush and just pop that into my waterline. So I'm going to take the colour Cherish, which is the darkest colour that I use, and I'm just taking it on a flat packing brush, and I'm actually going to pack that onto my waterline and kind of a little bit on my lower lash line as well. So the base is kind of giving it something to stick to, so I just kind of gently sweep it on. If you've got sensitive eyes, I probably wouldn't do this. And then I'm just going to bring it down onto my lash line just a little bit, just like that. So it will kind of connect up to the top. So I'm just going to repeat the same on my other eye. And then I'm going to grab a pencil brush, and I am going to take the colour Passion. So it's just a little bit darker than the colour Play that we used. And I'm just going to buff this underneath my eye, but just so I can kind of attach it to the outer corner of my lid as well, just like that. So I've got more of this kind of a little bit of a darker hue on my lower lash line, which is just something that I personally prefer. And then just to buff everything out and smooth everything out, I'm going to take my Morphe M562 and the colour Urge, which is that real pastel-y pink that we used on the upper lash line, and I'm just going to use that just to buff it in and also just bring it up. If you are someone that's got like under eye wrinkles, or if you find that your concealer creases on your eyes, this is quite a good way to kind of hide that, because you can bring the shadows down like a fair amount, and it really kind of opens up your eyes, as long as you make sure that you connect it to the top and you kind of buff it out. And then before I go ahead and put on some lower lash line mascara, I do want to add some highlight. So there are, I'm going to hold it up just to show you, there are 2 highlighters in the palette. You've got this kind of more pinky toned one, which is called Once Upon a Time, and then you've got this more gold toned one, which is Happily Ever After. I'm going to swatch both of them for you now. The top one here is the more gold one, and then that's more of the pink toned one. I feel like I can probably get away with the more pink toned one. I've just dipped it into my brush, and that is what has come off. So need to tap off some of that product. So I'm going to take some on my brush and just apply that. So this is just applying it dry. I do want to try it a bit more wet as well. But that does look really nice. It's not, I wouldn't say it's blinding. It is like, it's definitely there. It's more of like a wet look highlighter as opposed to a like glittery one, which is what I prefer. So it makes your skin look a bit more wet. But I just feel like I haven't really heard that many people talk about the highlighters, just more so the palette. I'm going to put some on. So this is just applying it dry. I do want to try it a bit more wet as well. But that does look really nice. It's not, I wouldn't say it's blinding. It is like, it's definitely there. It's more of like a wet look highlighter as opposed to a like glittery one, which is what I prefer. So it makes your skin look a bit more wet. But I just feel like I haven't really heard that many people talk about the highlighters, just more so the palette. I'm going to put some on. my nose. And then I'm going to apply some of it wet as well. So I'm going to take some on the brush, and I'm going to take my Morphe setting spray and just give the brush a little bit of a spritz just to see what difference it makes, to see how blinding you can get this. And then I'm just going to apply it. I feel like, well, yeah, that's made quite a lot of a difference. It's really nice because it's got this kind of like pink hue behind it, which I think is actually quite nice. I do feel like you could probably get away with this if you've got more tan skin, because it doesn't have like if I look straight on, it's not really giving me like a cast. But yeah, I would definitely say if you want more of a punch, apply it wet. I might, just to see what it looks like, just apply some of the gold on top as well. And then I'm actually also going to take some of the pink, more pinky toned one, more champagne-y one, and just pop that right on the inner corner of my eyes. Just like that. And then just to finish off the look, I'm going to put on some lower lash line mascara, and then I'll be back to kind of give my overall thoughts on the palette. Okay, so this palette, I feel like with whenever I watch people's review, I always like to know the kind of pros and cons, if there is any, of any products, because the cons might make me not buy it, or the pros might make me want to buy it. So I'm gonna kind of give you a complete honest opinion from all round. I have actually got the other two PLouise eyeshadow palettes just to compare something that I really wanted to mention in the video. As I already mentioned, I feel like that I don't see a lot of people that I watch on YouTube use many PLouise products except for like the bases, but when it comes to their like eyeshadow palettes, I feel like I just don't see many people use them. Their paints that they've got, I've got one of their paints and I've used it I think once, and it is absolutely amazing. But I have got all of their eyeshadow palettes, so I think I will probably always buy their eyeshadow palettes, even though when I first normally see them I'm always like, ah, do I really need that? Then after a while I'm like, yes, I really need it, and I spend the money on it, and then I don't regret it. Like I said, I have got all three palettes with me, so I will just kind of quickly show you the first two, just so that I can talk about what I wanted to compare it to. So this is the first eyeshadow palette. This came out so long ago, it's probably expired now, to be honest, but I mean, yeah, I absolutely love it. It looks like I haven't used it that much, but I actually used this palette so much when I first got it. It's got like an amazing white in it. The two shimmers at the top are so nice, they just blend together so well. And yeah, I really like this palette. What I really wanted to show you though was a comparison to a MAC eyeshadow. So I've just put a MAC eyeshadow in there, and as you can see, it fits pretty much perfectly in the middle where the square is completely around the outside. So you're obviously getting more shadow than a normal MAC shadow. That's just something I want you to keep in mind. You get 2, 4, 6, 8. So there's 12 colours in this palette. You get a nice mirror at the top, and it is very small, very sleek, very travel friendly. So this is the first palette. The second palette, the Secret Sinner palette. This palette come out not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, I think, that kind of time. I got it not last Christmas, but the Christmas before, so it come out sometime before then. I think it actually was out for a while before I even got it. As you can see, compared to the first one I showed you, this palette is very chunky. Paige really wanted to do like really extra packaging, and then on the inside you have got these really bold bright colours with some neutral colours in there. And in this palette you get 3, 6, 9, you get 18 eyeshadows. Now this has got no shimmers in it, this is all mattes. And again, if I compared it to a MAC eyeshadow, don't know how we'll be able to see, but the MAC eyeshadow fits pretty much perfectly in there. I can't remember how much I paid for each palette. I'm pretty sure the first one was like 30 something, and then this one was, I want to say 40 something pounds. I really do like the packaging. It's not the most travel friendly depending on like how big your bag is, but I've made some really nice looks. Some of my favourite eyeshadow looks that I have done on myself in the past is with this palette. So yeah, you can still actually get this palette. So if you've been thinking about getting it, I would really recommend that, and I can do some looks with that one. And we move on to this last palette. This palette is so heavy, like is definitely by far the heaviest palette I own. Like I'm struggling to put the whole palette. I mean, compared to my head, and I have got like, I'd say quite a big head, it is like twice the size of my head. One thing I have seen people complaining about is the kind of, I suppose, the waste in packaging for this palette. I can understand, like obviously it's supposed to look like a cassette tape, which is why you've got like the clear kind of acrylic on the lid. You've got the two highlighters. This palette was 40 or 40, no, this palette was £42. So if anything, it's the same price or maybe not that much more expensive than the Secret Sinner. And again, you are getting, so again, you're getting 18 eyeshadows, but you're also getting 2 highlighters. Now, the thing to note on this palette, which I didn't really realise until I actually got it, but the pans are smaller than on the other 2 palettes. I would say that if MAC eyeshadows were square, then they would be this size. So it's not, you're not getting like less eyeshadow than you would with normal eyeshadow palettes or normal eyeshadow pans. It's just smaller than the other 2 palettes. But yeah, you can see that there is quite a lot of waste on the palette itself. So the only thing I would say for me is that it's not the most travel friendly. That's not something that, I wouldn't say it doesn't bother me personally, but it's not something that would have stopped me from getting the palette. I know it will bother some people, but it is just the idea behind the packaging. I personally really like the packaging. I really like pink and gold. I think it looks really kind of, it just looks really different. It looks really unique, and I think that's the whole thing with PLouise, is that it is a very unique and very kind of out there brand. So if you don't like very extravagant packaging and you don't like things that are very bold, then this palette might not be for you. But all of the PLouise palettes are a really good way of kind of experimenting with that, because with the first 2 palettes you've got some really nice neutrals in, and even though I wouldn't say any of these colours are very neutral, you've still got some really nice wearable purples in the bottom. You've still got some really nice kind of bright colours. You do also have 2 shimmers in here as well. You've got like a red shimmer and like a gold shimmer. So I just think that it's a really fun way of also adding a pop of colour. So maybe if you had like a more neutral palette but you wanted to add a bit of pink or a bit of purple or a bit of red, then you could kind of use this in conjunction with other palettes. I think in terms of price, it's definitely worth the amount of money. From using this palette today, I absolutely love how this look has come out. I feel like the shadows have been so easy to use, and yeah, I just love it. I think the highlighter as well is so nice. It's definitely one that you could kind of use quite subtly. Then you could really kind of build it up to how you'd want to make it look. So overall, I'm really very happy. I would love to know that if you've got the palette, what you think of it, or if you're thinking about picking it up. I will do some more looks with it, because like I said, I just really don't feel like I see many people doing looks on YouTube with like PLouise products. I have been really one thing I've really wanted to do is actually go and do like a one-to-one kind of course with some of the people that work there, just for kind of tips on how they get their looks to look like so sharp, and you know, like how they do like the liners so neat, and just kind of little tips from people who have got a lot of experience. Very, very happy with that. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.